Good morning. I'm Natalie. This is Kim.
Hi.
Welcome to episode 2 of Sovereign Spirituality, the podcast. We are going to talk about sobriety today. This is my friend Kim. I have known her I looked back, it had to be 2019.
Yeah.
2019. So it's been a journey. It has. Just to get started, we met at the bus stop. We met at the bus stop when I was going through some shit. It was started by me asking you if you would be my muse for photography. I had decided to get into photography, and I had asked if you would model for me.
Yep.
And then we got to talking. Day one, I was doing your hair and makeup, and I don't know how it came up, but it came up, and I was like, oh yeah, like I'm going on 1 year being sober. I stopped drinking a year ago, and you said, that's why I'm here. You're like, okay, this is why I'm here. You never understood, which is something as funny, because last week you said the same thing. Oh, this is why I'm here.
Yeah.
So it's interesting. 6 years later, I don't know, math is hard.
Yeah. Same.
5 or 6 years later, whatever that is. No, I'm, okay. We started talking about sobriety. Anyways, I was like, yeah, no, I stopped drinking a year ago. Never been to an AA meeting, and you had said that you were going to AA. And at the time, I think you were 3 or 4 years sober.
3 years, yeah.
3 years sober. So we did our thing. I did your hair and makeup. We took beautiful photos.
Yes.
You're a great model. And I think later on that day, you were like, hey, what are you doing? Do you want to come to an AA meeting with me? And I was all like, okay, cool. And Kim brought me to my first AA meeting. And I started going for a while after that. Like, I mean, I currently don't go. But,
Same.
okay.
Yeah.
Like, I think our journeys have taken us different ways. Like, I'm still sober, but just not AA sober? I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for
It
validating me.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, that's how we met and we became friends. And even along the way, like you started going, you took me to my first AA meeting. I continued going. We would go to some together. You went to other ones, and I continued only going to those ones. But at the same time, like when I backtrack a minute, like I had said, I was going through some shit. We met at a time where you had just gotten out of your marriage.
That is correct.
And I helped you move. I helped you pack up. But like I was thinking about, wow, we have been through a lot, man.
Right.
Like I remember being at your place and helping you pack up. And you moved into apartments. And I was like, oh, these are so amazing. Well, then probably a couple months later, I wound up, like you helped me just by seeing you, like, do the thing. You helped me know that I could, even without, like, being like, oh, you totally should, right? You never said you should do these things, right? But I wound up moving into the apartment complex next door. Like, I was like, she can do it, and, like, the universe works fast when you're headed in the right direction. Once I made that decision, within 2 weeks, I was in an apartment, and, I'm still there today.
Right.
But, like, that was the transition. We became friends, and then COVID.
Yeah.
COVID. And then everybody kind of, I feel like from there, it changed. Like we were on a good thing where we were doing photos, we were doing things, and COVID halted it. And it became something else for entirely. Like I completely gave up doing photography.
Right.
And you kind of decided that you wanted to do that too, which was cool.
Right. And seeing you do the photography and made me realize that I wanted to empower other women the same way. And then COVID happened and life happened and
yeah. So it like rerouted everything, right? From then, like I went to massage school and I'm now this person.
Yeah.
But
and it's
definitely
beautiful.
not the same. Thank you. But so that's our background, right? So now that like how we've just kind of helped each other along the way without even realizing. But this is going to be like it's kind of about sobriety and where like sobriety has taken us and how it's transformed in ways over the years, because that was one thing, but now sobriety is something else completely different for me. Like it's not like I need this and like working the 12 steps for me. It's just like I know that that's not the way of life that I want, and I still know that if I drink, like I just don't want to.
Right.
Plain and simple. But can I ask you what your why was?
I got to a point in my life where nothing else mattered. I have a daughter who is now 11. At the time, it was, her first year I was able to control it. And then, I've known from a very young age that I've had a problem, whether it be with, drugs or alcohol. And I thought that, my marriage and my daughter would save me and things would change and everything would be different. And at the end of the day, I'm an alcoholic through and through. Mm-hmm. And as much as I tried to control it after I had her and she was born, eventually it just went right back to how it was before, I had her. And my mom had actually told me, either you get sober or I'm going to take your child from you. She brought me to my first AA meeting, and they were gracious enough to let her sit with me during the meeting. I stuck around for about 4 months and didn't really work the steps, didn't go to meetings regularly, and I went back out, and within a couple of months I was miserable, and every day I wanted to control, alt, delete myself.
Mm-hmm. Drinking or sober?
Drinking.
Okay.
Yeah. So I went back out, and within a couple months, it was 10 times worse than it had been before my mom brought me to a meeting. And I woke up one morning and I said, I can't do this anymore. My daughter had walked in on me. At that time, she was 3 years old. Had walked in on me, attempting to remove myself. And she put her arms around me and said, Mommy, it's going to be okay. And that was my awakening. No,
it's already starting.
Yeah. And so I told myself, I said, you know what, I'm going to go back to a meeting and I'll give myself a year. And if my life doesn't change in a year, my daughter deserves better. And it's 8.5 years later, and I haven't made the choice to go back out. Mm-hmm. And so at that point, it wasn't for anybody but myself. Mm-hmm. I couldn't live with myself anymore. I couldn't look myself in the mirror. And, I never got the DUI, and I never got, people talk about how, right. And my rock bottom was I didn't have anything left anymore.
Yeah.
There was nothing for me anymore at that point. Mm-hmm. And I truly believed that my daughter deserved better than what I could give her. So at that point, it was like, I'll give it a year. Mm-hmm. And thankfully, I gave myself that chance because my life is completely different than what it was back then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You're
Thank you.
welcome.
Thank you for sharing.
Yeah.
That's
sorry to get so heavy on you so quick.
I know. I'm like, oh shit, man. Full waterworks already. As you were talking about that, I'm like I kind of went back to my first meeting with you, sitting next to you, because you said that your mom took you, and I remember struggling to say, like, this is my, and I'm an alcoholic even then, and there's so many things I've struggled with in saying, in a meeting. But that's still something I do kind of like, no, you don't struggle. I still struggle with, I'm sober, I still struggle with saying, I'm an alcoholic.
Oh, no.
I know, I do.
It's funny because people nowadays, when I'm like, I'm an alcoholic, they're like, no, you're not. You don't.
Right.
And I'm like, no, yes, I am. Mm-hmm. Because the minute that I forget that I'm an alcoholic is the minute that I convince myself that I'm capable of drinking like a normal person. Right. And I'm not. I've tried many times, many different ways. Yes. And people try to argue with me and they're like, oh, but I'm an alcoholic. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. Yeah. Because it's given me a beautiful life at the end of the day that most people won't ever get to experience.
Yeah. Yeah, I think about, and I do, because I'm like, well, it's been 6 years now. Do I, could I have a drink and stop? Maybe, but do I want to find out? No. And then I think, no, because then, over the, I started smoking weed again, and then I'm like, that became a problem. No, still an addict, it's just a different thing, Right. So I don't do that anymore, but that was a thing, no, I can't. I go hard or go home. That is just my personality. I'm not going to find out. That eye roll, thank you.
Jogging to the person who drinks 10 shots of espresso every day.
Right. Okay, right. Like,
Is it... The old habits die hard. They really do.
Yeah.
You know, but when I drink 10 shots of espresso, I'm not trying to beat anybody up and...
Right, like, yes.
I'll pick my poison.
Yes,
Right.
yes. I like... And so I think I said this yesterday. I was like, I like myself after having Starbucks more than I do normally. And it was like, that... So that was one of my reasons why is... When I started drinking a lot, it was because I felt that I had to need to be this type of person.
Right.
Like... And then it was like people expected this of me, and so I had to show up as this person, and alcohol helped.
Right.
And my why for stopping, like, it wasn't like, did I get a DUI? No, but I have put my car somewhere I shouldn't have.
Right.
You know, like, I've done stupid shit. I just
Right.
never had the repercussions of that said stupid shit.
Right.
So, like, my last time, it wasn't a big event. Like, I remember clearly, it was nothing. It was not my rock bottom. My rock bottom should have been a year before I stopped, you know?
Right.
It was, I dropped a beer bottle on my foot and broke my toe. And I was mad that I couldn't work out. And I realized I finally liked myself more sober than I did drunk. And I would rather work out than drink.
Right.
Because I don't need a 2-day hangover. And I remember your friend asked me at a meeting, she was like, what's your reason why? I was like, I got tired of waking up naked in my closet. And that is
Right.
the amount of times, like, like, I was too old and too sloppy. Like, I'm too old to be that sloppy.
Right.
And that was what, I'm 40 now, so that was 34. Like, it was, like, my kids could have walked into me naked. Like, why was I in the closet? I've never been able to answer that question. Why am I naked in the closet after a night of drinking?
Right.
I did not go to sleep there. I woke up there. That was kind of like, I don't want to do that anymore. And I like myself enough sober. I don't care what anybody thinks. I can still be that person. And now I say, I do stupid shit sober. Like, I don't need alcohol. At least I'm in control.
Right.
You know, like, and that's funny now because I think about its control issues.
Which kind of makes it even worse. You're like, damn, I was sober when I made that
decision. Ooh,
Yeah.
The cringes. Yes. That's a whole other thing of the things that I do. Like, I don't have any excuses. Like, that was just me.
Yeah.
That was just my stupid the cringing. Oh, we're not, that's something else entirely.
That's another podcast.
Yes.
That's episode 3.
Yeah. So, all of that being my reason why, and have you ever found it hard, and I feel like that's a tough question, but, like, to deal with life sober?
Yes.
Yeah.
All the time. So you had mentioned a second ago about how, you learned to like yourself better sober than you were, drunk or drinking. And when I first got sober, my sponsor had told me, you can be anybody you want to be as long as you don't pick up a drink.
Yeah.
And I have found that to be the hardest thing, right? So 8.5 years later, and within the last year or so, I realized that I identified myself as I'm sober and I'm a bartender.
Uh-huh.
Right. So I didn't know who I was, right, after I quit drinking. Right? Like, okay, cool, I don't drink now. Yeah, I'm sober. I go to meetings. And then it was, I'm sober. I'm a bartender. And I no longer go to meetings. Like, and that was my identity.
Mm-hmm.
And so within the last year, 2 years, I've really been trying to figure out, like, who's Kim?
Yeah.
Right? I'm so much more than, a mom and a bartender and a girlfriend and sober. And learning who I am has been probably, like, the hardest journey.
Mm-hmm.
Because with that is undoing all the years of trauma and realizing that, like, I have to heal myself if I want to continue to not pick up a drink.
Right.
Because at the end of the day, all I'm doing is masking with coffee, with sugar, with my personality, and I do have to put on kind of a persona when I'm behind the bar, right? Because people don't come to a bar to like be miserable. They come to a bar to be entertained, and figuring out like what part of that identity is truly me and carrying that with me to the rest of the world and not just my job. So yes, it is hard because there's a lot of days where I'm like, oh, well, at least when I was drinking, I had energy and I knew who I was, but I didn't. It's all a lie.
Right.
Right. I was just a psychotic mess. Now I'm not as psychotic and still a mess, just without the booze. So it's
just at your full, what do you want to say, faculties, like
right. It's like okay, like now I have to deal with this shit, and I can't drink to escape it.
Yeah. Like what do I say now? It's like I'm raw dogging life, man.
Right, exactly. Right. Like life is raw dogging me at this point.
Yes. So, do you think that you have to put on a personality as a bartender? Because this is going into something else I want to talk about.
Absolutely.
You have to. Do you find, because I know I used to say, I don't trust people that don't drink. Oh my God. Now I'm someone, like, because, why? Because they were judging me.
Right.
Because of the stupid shit I was doing.
So I'm super grateful because where I work, I've been there 7.5 years now. I learned how to bartend when I was 6 months sober. And I kind of found my home there.
Yeah.
And so I went through life behind that bar, and I'm very grateful that I've had supportive bosses, and 98% of my customers know that I don't drink. They know that I am sober and that I did have a problem with alcohol. Now the newbie, I don't really, I'm like, know, they're like, oh, you want to do a shot? No, I don't drink. I'll do a shot of Red Bull with you, whatever. So I'm, as much as I like put on, I don't want to say like a front. It's just,
it's hard to explain because you feel like, am I not me? But we all have so many different aspects of self that we kind of pull from. Like, what hat are you wearing today?
Right.
Like I struggle with like, because my persona is, I'm happy all the time. So I struggle so much with not being happy because then they're like, well, that's not the Natalie I know. Well, then bitch, you don't know me.
Right. Exactly.
Like,
right.
So characters.
I do wear different hats. I am very fortunate to have a lot of people who genuinely care about me. So on my hard days, I am that hard day behind the bar. I try not to let it completely take over, but people notice and they're like, hey, you're not yourself today. Like, are you good? So it's a mix, right? And I am more extra and more happy and more bubbly. And it does take a lot out of me because I'm an empath.
Yes, which is one of the things I said I wanted to talk about was being an empath and not drinking and being around people that drink. So does that lift you up?
So yes, right. So it depends. So like at work, it's a little different because I'm not as emotionally close. Like it's hard to explain. So I'll try to do. So with my boyfriend, when he's intoxicated, had a couple of drinks. He doesn't ever really get like drunk with me. I do kind of, I guess you could say, like, get his buzz if we are in closed quarters together. Like if we're out in public, I don't really feel it as much. But when his mood shifts, so does mine. I pick up on that energy. So naturally, like if he is drinking, I kind of get a little more bubbly, or it really just depends on the actual environment that we're in. As far as at work, I don't really feel the effects, but yes, it's a party atmosphere, so it does kind of like lift me up, and I'm kind of like, and if the energy within the bar changes, so does mine. Because somebody can walk in that bar with foul intentions, and my energy shifts immediately. And because I'm sober, it's that much more
intense.
Yes.
Okay.
Whereas when I was drinking, I was just kind of like, yeah,
Fuck
like,
off.
right, like, and I just wanted to fight everybody.
Uh-huh.
Now I'm like, if I want to fight you, chances are you don't have good intentions.
Yes.
And they don't normally last very long. They get thrown out pretty quickly.
Oh.
Or they leave because they're like, oh, she's a bitch. Like, I don't,
Okay,
yeah,
okay.
right. Because, like, the hairs on the back of my neck stand up, and
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't
Spidey
like
senses kick in, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, okay. Like, and I asked that because I have found, like, as also, like, an empath and, like, being able to feel energy as well as I do, like, I'll be like, I don't need to drink because I can go to a bar and feel drunk with people and still be full, you know what I mean? Like, be around a bunch of drunk people and I feel drunk.
Right.
So, and I, like, I'm okay, like,
Right.
that's...
It's like secondhand buzz.
Yes,
Yeah.
like, and I've literally gone out with people and be like, she's drinking for both of us tonight.
Right, exactly.
You know, like...
Yeah.
And,
I live vicariously through everybody else. I get everybody hammered.
yeah, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Not when I'm working, but like if we go out, you know, like
Yeah.
a group of us, I'm like, shots.
Yeah, right?
Put 'em on my tab.
Most people think I'm drunk when I'm out in public. Like, no, completely sober. That is just me. I've been
Right.
called crazy because of that, which I don't like, but that's fine.
Right.
Like,
Right.
I'm just having no inhibitions. Like, good
When
for
people-
me
when-
for not being, like, for being able to be that way sober, right?
When people get stoned around me,
Okay.
is when I really feel it. And I don't
Okay.
know why. Maybe it's because I'm constantly around the alcohol that like
Oh, you
I don't
it's too
notice.
yeah.
But like when my friends like get stoned, I start like giggling and like and then I'm like, I have to go, guys. Like I think I'm high. And they're like, you didn't even smoke. And I'm like, I know that's the problem. I need to leave now.
Oh yeah. See, does it? I don't know if that affects me. That kind of chills me out. I would see, but this is what I was gonna say. I was like, I would prefer to be around drunk people. No, like I wanted to say, I prefer to be drunk. I don't prefer to be drunk. Like I'm sober and I don't actually want to drink again. I like,
Right.
you know, like, but I still like going out, and that's one of the things is like I still have the what is it I don't want to say addiction to chaos, but for lack of better, you know what I mean? Like
The
that
craving.
kind of, yeah.
Right.
Like, I like to go out and be in the bar scene and the club scene and not drink, but just to be in that atmosphere. I like it. I feel good.
Right.
And it's something that I kind of struggle with. Like, is it okay? Does that make me, you know, like, because I feel like then it comes into AA because of dry drunk and, you know,
Yeah.
like.
And that's exactly what I was thinking when you were talking about it. That was actually one of the reasons that I left. I don't want to say left because at the end of the day, I know if I ever get into a spot where I'm not okay, that I can go home.
Yes.
Right. I can go back to a meeting at any time and they'll welcome me with open arms. I went to a meeting every day for the first year. I will never say that there is a place for it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I kind of got tired of the whole like, oh, you're chasing the chaos and you're still like, and the judgment that I, after years of being in the rooms, was receiving. And one time I took NyQuil because I was sick, and they were like, "You relapsed."
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't drink a bottle of NyQuil. I took the recommended dose,
Right.
because I had a cold.
Yeah.
So yes, I also do enjoy being in the bar scene, and I mean I work in it for crying out loud. So on my days off, I don't really enjoy being in the bars as much as I used to because I'm in it. But yeah, I'm a chaos junkie. And yes, it is a problem at times, right? But isn't everything in life?
Right. Everything in moderation.
Right. So like it might be different if you were going out every night and staying out till 2, 3 in the morning because you
Right.
wanted to be in the bar scene, but like people go out every, you know, they have a glass of wine and they like, so if it's, for me, as long as it's not hindering my life or
Right.
or causing an issue with my day-to-day life, I think it's fine.
Yeah.
I'm not a professional.
Right. See, but that's the thing. Like, that's why, like, I feel like that is, like, and I don't want to say anything negative about AA because the program works. If people like it, it works if you work it.
Right.
Sorry.
Right. Yeah. I still live the steps in my daily life. I 100% do. The 12 steps, like, and that's for me what the difference is I no longer sit in a room with people who talk about the steps and I do it where it matters in my everyday life.
Right.
Right. And all it is like the core principles of life. Be a good person.
Yeah.
Admit when you're wrong. Like,
yeah.
It is literally like just be a decent human being. And if you're not, own up to it and admit it and make it right.
Yeah. When that, like, somebody like came to me like, is it the fourth step where you're like, that's like
the inventory?
Yeah. Like when you're like, oh shit, I'm having resentments towards somebody. I need to work a fourth step on this person. I never made it past that one.
Most people don't. And if you were to ask my sponsor, she'd tell you that I never did a true fourth step. Like,
okay.
Here's the thing. For me, I didn't get sober to sit in a room and talk about alcohol every day. And it has its place. I in no way, shape, or form like saying anything bad about the program. I've evolved.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
And for me, I quit drinking so that I could take my life back, and the constant like fear of if you don't go to a meeting, you're gonna relapse.
Yeah.
Like that's not true. And I'm not a dry drunk.
Right.
Right? Because I continue to work on myself and I continue to try to be a better person. Now, if I don't work on myself and I don't work on the things that I need to do to change and to better my life, I can become the same miserable person I was without ever picking up a drink.
Right.
So, like, there's balance, right? It, like, they got to a point where, like, I wasn't seeing my child or my husband at the time because I was going to a meeting every night and going out and doing fellowship. And, okay, cool. I just took away the drink.
Right. Yeah.
My family still didn't have me.
Right.
Because I was too busy getting sober. Which, hindsight is 20/20, and I'm grateful that I did those things because I have the life I have today. But it's all about balance, right?
Yeah, and I think that, like, because my, like, backstory, like, my dad was an alcoholic, and that was the thing, like, he was going to AA, that was the thing, like, my first memory of is visiting him in rehab, and, like, so I think I, like, told you in the beginning, I had resentments towards AA because he was working the steps, he was doing all of these things, and he was still drinking, so, you know, like, it's like, well, then does it work, you know, like, so we had put so much time into doing Al-Anon and all of this stuff for him to have just been lying the whole time, right?
Right.
So I went into AA with resentments, and then, like, it was just, like, I never really, I don't know, I feel like, but I've seen, like, it has worked, and there's so many people that I've seen, but, like, I just decided, and that's part of my personality, too, is, like, when I decide to stop doing something, I decide to stop doing it. Cold turkey, I was like, this isn't for me anymore. It was a year before my first AA meeting. Granted, I learned a lot, and it is those spiritual like I took it into spiritual practices though, like you know, like it's like all of the I couldn't even tell you what the steps were. I can't.
I can recite them. I'm like, nope,
I can't. But it was like in a different form. It's just the way you live life, not just the way to not drink.
Right.
And the one thing I did take away from them is take what resonates, leave what doesn't.
Right. Take
and
what
that
you need,
was,
leave the rest.
like I kind of like that is it's practices for life. It goes beyond staying sober.
Right.
And that is kind of like, I know that I won't drink again. I hate saying, but you can't even say that you know you won't drink again because that's against kind of AA in my, you know, like.
So, like, people ask me all the time, like, oh, do you think you'll ever drink again? And my answer is, I don't know. Right? Because I have no idea where life's going to take me.
Right.
I know that I have been through some of the darkest times in my sobriety, and I haven't picked up a drink because I know it's not going to fix anything.
Yes.
I don't have a desire to drink. I don't want that life back in any shape or form. But, like, yeah, today I can say I'm not going to drink again.
Yeah, like, I feel like I can fairly confidently say that. And I think even back to all of the times when I would, like, do something stupid and be like, I'm never going to drink again. And then I would take a month off. But, like, in the very significant events of my life, the first thing I did was not drink. Like when I had the things where people would be like, I remember like getting very traumatic news and being like, I need a fucking drink right now.
Right.
And then being met with, I understand. And I was like, no, I'm not going to fucking drink. And that was before I even got sober.
Right.
Like that was while I was still drinking. And the first thing I did when given traumatic information was, I'm taking a month off of drinking. I need to be sobered in order to deal with this because I know alcohol won't help. So that was something.
I wish I had that.
Like that's the thing, like that was always my go-to was like I need to stop drinking, and you know, like I need to be at full mental capacity because I'm not going to be able to handle it otherwise. Right. So like that was always and then it just got to be like, I feel like I can confidently say I won't ever drink again because I know it doesn't make anything better, and I know that I go hard or go home. Like there are just certain things that I know about myself, so I'm not going to test it. I don't even know what it would be like, and I don't think I would actually like drinking because I like being in control of myself. Right. I do stupid shit sober. Like even, you know, like why add alcohol to the mix? Oh my God. Like that's terrifying to me. Like I can't imagine me more amplified than I already am on caffeine, you know? Like give me Diet Coke and good music. People will think that I am drunk.
Right.
So what's the point of actually adding alcohol?
Right.
That's how I feel. So I want to say that, but then, you know, AA comes and be like, never say that you're never going to not drink again because that's when you're going to start drinking again.
Right. Right.
And,
right. And like, so my best friend, Alicia, used to, like, I had explained to her so many times why I had stopped going to meetings, right? And I get so much judgment, and that's okay, right? Like, who am I to say what's best for anybody except myself?
Right.
But that's also vice versa. And I've learned to be okay with the fact that some people won't agree with my choices. At the end of the day, it's between me and my spirit guides.
Yes.
If they believe that I need to go back to a meeting, I guarantee you my spirit guides will be strong enough to pull my ass back there.
Right.
Because they have laid everything else out in front of me.
Yes.
So, like, it took me a long time to, like, let go of those judgments that are so ingrained within, like, the rooms and within society in general. Like, and I still battle with it, right? Like, it's been a journey. It has been a journey. This last year and a half has been podcasts, right? And I'm so grateful for him because, like, I have changed so much within the last year and a half that, like, I feel like I just got sober again.
Yeah. That's something, so you had said, I wanted to go back to evolution. You talked about, like, you've evolved, right? Naturally, we evolution evolved. Like, even if you're not the same person, so you talked about, I kind of lost it, but you've been sober for over 8 years. Like, you're not the same person that you were when you first got sober. Right. Like, you're not the same person that you were when we met. Right. Because life has made us evolve, grow, expand as humans. Like, it's a spiritual journey before it's anything, realistically. So, like, for me, AA was, like, a step, right? Like, it was, like, okay, this is helping you grow. This is, like, knowing you can do these things. It was getting me out of the house. Like, it was getting me to do these things, like, and just get different experiences, but that's not, you know, like, I don't want to say, like, I feel like it goes back to, like, not being an alcoholic anymore. Like, no, yes, I am, and that's going to be a part of me. Oh, sorry. Like, I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I'm like, the one thing I hated was, it was like, it's not my identity. I don't drink. I'm not, you know what I mean? Like, that is, there's so much more to me than
I'm an alcoholic.
Yeah, then I had to get sober because the XYZ, you know? Like, no, that's just part of who I am, and I feel AA makes it like, this is who you are. Right. And that's always just been my experience, and it's not everybody's, and, you know, like, and again, the program does fucking work. Yes. We've seen it, we know. Right. But, like, for me, it was like, no, that is just, like, I don't want that to be my whole identity. I have a life, I have so much more to offer than I'm sober, and here's why. Right. You know, like, Sorry.
And that's, no, and that's the thing that, like, that's why I share my story so loudly.
Yeah.
Right? Because I don't have to suffer in silence anymore. I can recover loudly and help the next person suffering. Right? Which is what I learned in AA. I do not have to be in a meeting to share the message.
Right.
Yes. Without it, I wouldn't be sober today. I 100% fully can say that with my chest. Without AA, I would not be sober today. And I will always revert back to home, right? That is my home base.
Right.
And I know I always have a place to go. And when people ask me, how did you get sober? I tell them, go to a meeting.
Yes.
Because I tell them, go in with an open mind, take what you need, leave the rest. Like, and I still take what I need. And the rest is where I left it.
Right.
You know, with the opinions of others on how I should or shouldn't live my life and how I should or shouldn't be sober. I haven't had a drop of alcohol in 8.5 years. Everything else doesn't matter.
Right.
That's
right.
it.
I agree.
I walked into those rooms because I couldn't stop drinking. I have effectively done that.
Yes. You are so far, you're vastly different from that person. Like,
Right.
it's just a completely different version. But how many versions of you have you been since?
Oh my gosh. Finding my identity has been one of the most beautiful and chaotic journeys I have been on. And staying sober through it has been I don't even know, like, if you were to ask me to count, like, how many, like, versions of myself I've been since then, I couldn't tell you. But I know that I've started multiple businesses that I've not completed. I have bought multiple books, listened to multiple podcasts, and had a few relationships in the mix. And
Are you cringing?
Yeah.
Are you cringing a little bit on anything of those?
Oh my God. When I tell you I'm cringing at like 90% of the choices that I've made since I've been sober.
Oh God.
Yeah. And it's, but like it I'm laughing about the time you texted me.
Oh God.
Okay, but we're not going into that.
We can.
How life has been. Our spirit guides keep putting us together, though.
Yes, and I feel like that was a catalyst. That situation,
yes,
was a catalyst for you to get out. You know what I mean? Like, for things.
Okay, so ironically,
here we go.
I dated this gentleman for a hot minute. Okay. He had told me I was crazy multiple times and broke up with me multiple times. And then we got back together, broke up with me, right? So, like, there was a lot of, like, narcissism and gaslighting and so on and so forth. And we kept in touch, like, periodically here and there. I ended up breaking up with him once I was, like... He had said something about, like, my daughter didn't need something for Christmas because he was mad that I didn't get him what he wanted for Christmas because I told him he would have to wait because I couldn't afford it.
Oh.
That my daughter came first. And then I broke up with him because I was like, listen, nobody's going to tell me that you deserve something more than my child does. And, like, I'm the crazy one. So anyway, flash forward. He was dating someone, and his girlfriend actually reached out to me.
Oh.
And had asked if he had sent me a picture, and, you know, long story short, basically was worried that he was cheating on her. And she had told me that she was having problems with drinking and so on and so forth. And her and I had actually begun talking about getting sober, and she went to her first meeting, and I think she's 2 or 3 years sober now.
Awesome.
So it's funny because she had reached out to me worried, and here I am telling her, like, you deserve better, and like, and all of these things, right? And instead of being the woman that I used to be, and being like, oh, you blah blah, like, right, and being nasty, I decided to help her, right? Because I knew what it was like to be in her shoes.
Right. In more ways than one.
Right. And then that, she was like, oh, he had told me that you've been sober for this amount of times, and I've always been insecure because of you. You're such a beautiful right? And I'm like, honey, I'm just as insecure.
Yeah.
I struggle with the same things you do. He did the same things to me.
Yeah.
Like, and then now she's in a happy relationship. And then you messaged me one day and you were like, hey, do you know this guy?
Oh, God. Yeah.
Right? And I was truthful. I was honest with you. Like, I'm not going to.
Well, and the backstory on that is I had matched with him on Bumble.
Okay.
And we were talking, and he's like, you look familiar. And I'm like, okay, like, okay, whatever. And then, like, I was like, oh, yeah, I'm going to get my Diet Coke from 7-Eleven. He goes, oh, this girl I used to date used to go to, like, there's a 7-Eleven right by this, by this cafe or whatever. And I'm like, uh-oh. Oh, shit. Now I get it. Now, and then I was like, this is why I look familiar. Photos, all of the things came.
Right, because you had done a photo shoot for me.
Right, with the donuts.
No, prior to that.
Okay.
It was the one when you were still at the old house.
Yes.
Yes. So that, and so, like, that was during that same time. So you and I had actually talked about him.
Yes, because I was like, oh, all of that shit came flooding back.
Yes.
Like, okay, I remember, like, the outfit choices and all of the things. Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So it's funny because, like, our spirit guides were still trying to, like, connect us at that point.
Uh-huh.
In one way or another. And we kind of, like, it was just that conversation, and then we didn't talk again for a while. And I still followed you on Facebook, and because when I tried to explain to my boyfriend how I knew you, I'm like, so, we met at the bus stop. I did a, photo shoot, and then, my ex-boyfriend, and he's like, he's looking at me like, what the hell
like
are
6
you?
degrees of separation.
Right. And he's just like, I'm not following. Right. Like, this poor man tries to keep up with me. Oh. And then I get mad at him. Like, do you even listen? Like, like. Yeah. And now I understand why it's so chaotic, because, like, you and I can sit and we know where our conversation goes. Right. But sit down with a normal person and they're like, what is wrong?
Well, because there's been 18 lifetimes since we've met.
Right, exactly. So, and I told you when I had gotten my massage, and, when I was leaving that, I feel like I'm being called to help people.
Yes.
Right? And then when you were like, oh, the podcast, and I was like, huh.
Yep, and that's why I'm here.
Heard, thanks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is funny how we do keep getting brought back together.
Right.
Like, but it's years in between. And, like, I mean, again, I know I've been at least 3 people since the last time we actually, like, had a conversation.
Right.
Because that was really, I feel like it was, I think, in 2020, and I just wasn't there.
Neither was
I. COVID. Like, I just wasn't there. It was COVID. It was, like, yeah.
Right. I feel like, and this is something that I really wanted to share, because a lot of people see me and a lot of people know me. And I constantly hear, like, oh, you're such a great person, and oh, you're so beautiful, and oh, you've been sober for so, like, and they give me all these compliments, right? And oh, I want to be like you. Oh, I wish I could have what you have. And it's very important for me that I shared on Facebook the other day, right around my 8.5 years. There's days where I'm fighting for my life, and yes, I am beautiful. Yes, I do have my sobriety. All of those things are true. However, it's not always what we see, right?
Right.
And I feel like it's almost like social media. Mm-hmm. We see this, right? I show what I want to show. And I want people to know that just because it's hard don't give up.
Yeah.
Right? Like, there have been so many times where I've hit my knees and I've said, God, please fucking help me.
Yeah.
Right? And I have a beautiful life. There are things that I have in my life today that I could have never imagined were possible.
Mm-hmm.
But that doesn't mean that like on the other side, that there's not still the heartache, right? And there's still, I took away the drink, and for the longest time I thought that, like, cool, I'm good now. Right?
Right.
I'm fine. And I masked that underlying shit that's still there with, I'm going to open this business, and I'm going to change my hair, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do, right? And within the last year, really trying to dive into the trauma.
Yeah.
And try to heal the parts of me that the alcohol was trying to numb.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, that's not going to go away unless I work on it.
Right. How do you work on it?
Podcasts. So I have found so much information. I have a hard time. So I was growing up, like, I had a learning disability, and, you know, so all of these things. And I find for me that audiobooks and podcasts, like audio for me, because then I can still, my ADHD, I can still, like, clean the house and listen, and doing the inner child work.
Yes.
If there's one thing that I can recommend to people who are struggling, is look for either audiobooks or podcasts related to doing inner work.
Yes. Shadow work.
Right.
Yeah.
Because for me, a lot of the things that, like, I struggle with today are related to my nervous system's responses to childhood trauma.
Right.
Mind you, I didn't have, like, any really crazy traumas. There was a lot of loss, a lot of abandonment, a lot of, you know. But my nervous system doesn't know the difference.
Right. And I wanted, like, just if I can quickly interrupt, like, to say with that is, like, it doesn't have to be traumatic for our not fully developed brains to take it that way.
Right.
And it's so important to go back to, like, even when this happened, like, figuring out where it happened, like, at the age that it was, and realizing, like, you were just a child. So something may have not been a big deal. But first off, it was a big deal to you, and let's validate, you know.
Right.
I think a lot of inner child healing is validating the experience, no matter how big or small it was, right? Because what would be traumatic for you might not be traumatic for somebody else, depending on their nervous system, right? And it is, like, we carry everything that's ever happened to us.
Yes.
And it is retraining our nervous system to know. There's something that's so funny, because I was literally working on it with the client on this stuff yesterday. Like, it doesn't matter.
Right.
You can tell yourself all you want that it wasn't a big deal, but if your inner child thought it was a big deal, it's a big fucking deal.
and that's the thing that, like, we can't shame ourselves into healing.
Right.
So for the longest time, I would tell myself, like, okay, that was this, you know, that was years ago, or, oh, you're so stupid, why do you feel this way? Like, you cannot shame yourself into healing.
Right. And by saying it's not a big deal and telling yourself it's not a big deal, it is prolonging it.
Absolutely.
It is continuing your suffering, because you need to accept, validate, and be like, okay, but I'm not that person anymore. I understand why we set this up in place. Like, it's a matter of, like, I always tell people, hug yourself and be like, I'm sorry, you know, like, that you've been holding on to this for so long, but can we let this go?
Right. I was talking to somebody yesterday, and they were having a hard time, and we were trying to figure out, like, where it was coming from. And I had said, I was like, look at a picture of you when you were little, and tell yourself in that photo, adult me is here now. You are okay. You are safe.
I'm gonna cry.
Yeah, because that's what it is at the end of the day. Like, when there are instances, and learning the difference between, like, a trauma response and a normal response.
Right.
Because And now I can feel it, right? Okay, I'm shaking. My heart is racing. I'm not going to respond to this right now. I am having a trauma response. What part of me is being activated? Is it the wounds of abandonment?
Right.
Is it, right? And then going inward and saying, I love you. You are safe. And I'm going to take care of this. Like, you can relax. Because and that has been the biggest game changer for me.
Yeah.
It's I got into a relationship, and for the first time in my life I felt safe with someone. And unfortunately, because of that, all of those wounds and raw nerves
Yeah.
got exposed. Because for so long I've been fight or flight, right?
Yeah.
Don't, like, it's fine. That doesn't bother me. I got it. Because I was in my wounded masculine energy. So for the first time ever, I had someone bring out the feminine energy in me. And I went psychotic. Right.
So much easier to be in your wounded masculine.
Oh, it is. It definitely is. And so for the first time, I've actually been forced into healing, right? Because I don't want to be that person anymore.
Yeah.
And so it's funny how life works. You know, they bring people into our lives and they change things and give you what you need. Because for the longest, I'm like, well, he doesn't do this, and that, right? And that wasn't it, right? I was looking in a mirror.
Yep.
I didn't like what I saw because it was a reflection of me.
We're projecting, yeah.
Right. And don't get me wrong, neither of us are perfect. But it's definitely forced me to do a lot of work on myself. So poor guy.
No, he's lucky.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
We both are.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the way it should be.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Good for you.
Yeah. So the book, it's called The Inner Work. I liked it so much that I actually ordered the physical copy and highlighted. Don't worry, I haven't finished writing my notes because that was 2 months ago. Because I found another book that was more helpful about something else that was not related, because that's who I am. It talks about our different rejection wounds.
Yeah.
So if there's something that I can recommend to anybody, a book, The Inner Work.
The Inner Work.
Yeah, it's great. It talks about, like, is it the wound of rejection? Is it the wound of shame? And it goes into, like, how it manifests in our life, where it manifests from, and then instead of, like, those core beliefs, it actually, like, on the next page goes into retraining our brain to tell ourselves the opposite.
Yeah. Yeah, that's currently what I'm in the middle of.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Get the hard copy and listen to the audiobook.
Yeah, that's what I need, the audiobook. I can't sit and read, like, my ADHD is like, nope, this is not for me.
Yeah, my brain's like, you should be doing laundry. You should be talking to this person. You should be doing this. You should be, Yeah. You're going to get the physical copy, too, though, because you're going to listen to it, and you're going to be like, man, I'm not going to remember that. Now I need the actual book.
Yeah, well, that's when you clip it, right? And then you go back to the book. No, I can't. I haven't been able to actually listen to shit for a long time.
Really?
Like, my brain, yes. But, like, I'm currently in the whole having to retrain from those wounds that, you know, because even, like, healing is never ending. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Oh, my God. Never ending. And that's one of them. It's the rejection. Like, for me right now, actually, it's insecurity, you know, like, all of the things, like, yeah, they're just all, like,
manifesting
in my face. Yeah. And, like, okay, like, I am putting this experience out there and just kind of realizing, like, you know, it's a layer, like, it's an onion, right? We're peeling back more layers always. Right. And I feel like as soon as, in general, especially on this healing and spiritual awakening journey, that, like, I'm so happy, like, that I can have, like, that we can talk like this, you know, like, that we're on, though, is, like, as soon as you think you've got one thing figured out, it's like, let's just flip it down and reverse it, you know, and, like, okay, now we're going to look at it from this way. Where can we heal more? What is this, you know, like.
Right. And sometimes I need to, and this is, I'm just realizing this talking to you, how many times have I said today? Sometimes I need to realize that I can stop that healing process for a moment and just enjoy the work that I've done.
Yeah.
And because you have said what you have said, that triggered in me to tell you, which means that I need to hear the message. Because, yes, it is never ending. And sometimes I'm like, is this ever going to, like, am I ever going to be healed? Is there ever going to be a point?
That's a question I asked myself not too long ago.
Right. But if I'm not growing, then I'm dying.
Right.
So do I want the healing to end?
Well, and then do we ever get fully, what happens after? That was the question
I
found
die.
myself asking like a month ago. It's like, well, if I can't have all of these things until I'm completely healed, what happens after? Like, I'm 40, I still have at least 40 years to go. So if I get healed today, what's the next, like, what is there?
Right.
Like, there is no healing, like,
there's no finish line.
There isn't, because there's going to be things. You're always going to be triggered. Like, for me, it's like finding a healthy relationship. That's one of the things that I really want. Like, I feel like I haven't experienced that. So that's something that comes up for me. Like, and healthy is a word.
Right. It's like, about perspective.
Yes. Right. Well, yeah.
Because if you were to ask somebody else outside of my relationship what they thought of my relationship, I'm sure that they wouldn't think that it's ideal because it doesn't fit their mold.
Right. Interesting.
Right. So I have never wanted to work so hard to heal myself in a relationship. That is something I've never experienced.
Mm-hmm. Because you want the relationship to work?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I want to be the best version of me for him.
Yes.
For myself too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But every other relationship I've ever been,
think he deserves.
Yes.
That's awesome.
And he has a lot of healing to do, and I see the work, and I see him trying. You know what I mean? So, healthy relationship is like it. You know, like as long as you're not getting abused and right, and like there's none of that. Mm-hmm. So. Society teaches us that we're supposed to have things a certain way.
Mm-hmm. Yes, that I feel that the American dream. Right. For me, like that's one thing that I think.
Marriage, a home,
kids, like
right.
Yeah, like the
the new car, the good job, the right. And it's funny because I look at people who have all of those things. And they are not very nice people sometimes.
Yes, or are they very happy? They are not really very happy.
Right. And I'm not saying that there aren't people out there who have all of those things and who have spirituality and happiness, but
yeah.
We're taught that we should have all of these things to fill the hole instead of healing the hole.
Right.
And like having these things as as an extra to those.
Right. Yes, I agree 100%. Like, I have to say, like, and I struggle, like, if we're going to talk, like, wounds, I struggle with being 40 and single and, like, not being, like, I did not live my life in chronological order, right? Like, I did the marriage, the kids, all of that, and now I'm, like, before I was 25, and, like, because otherwise you're an old maid. Right. You know, like, and that's just not, like, I don't want to say that because it is judgment to be like, well, and how many of those people are happy? Like, now, and some aren't, right? But it's like, for me, it was ingrained in me that you need validation from men, right? Like, and
most women.
Yeah, like, it was, especially, like, the way I grew up was just, like, you're not valuable unless you're wanted by a man, and, like, and I don't know if that was, like, it was just society at the time, right? And now I am struggling with that still, but in a different way, because now it's like, well, no, I do know my worth and I know my value and I know all of these things, but I think other people don't see it because what's wrong with me? Because I am not in a relationship.
Right.
And that is something that I have to work, like, there is nothing wrong with me, but I have to keep telling myself there is nothing wrong with me. Like, I'm currently in there is nothing wrong with you.
Right.
Like, for not wanting to settle. Like, I mean, because it's like, I could be in a relationship, but
right.
Would I want the quality of what is being And this is what I'm in right now is like of what is being presented to me. But I am, it's like I'm the one that's presenting it because that's like I have worth issues that I still need to work on.
Right. And same.
Yeah. But
I don't think that'll ever like end, right? So like,
see, but I feel like if you wind up, because I am also like I'm dealing with insecurities right now with myself and like obviously like worth and all of those things, like then it becomes into attachments, right? Like like attachment issues and
I'm an anxious attachment.
Yes. I wasn't always, but life has thrown me some curveballs that have changed that. Like,
I got some podcasts for you.
Oh, do you? Send them my way.
Yeah, no. So there, and I'm going to recommend them on here because they have changed. So there's a podcast called To Be Better.
Okay.
It's a couple, and they are a traditional relationship. They have a traditional marriage, and has actually changed my view on everything. So, like, yes, it is relationship based, but it has made me look so hard at myself. Like, I used to get angry at some of the shit I'd hear. And obviously, if I'm angry, I'm triggered. And if I'm triggered, I need to know why.
So, my question, I'm sorry, really quick, to bring it back to, like, did you learn that in AA?
What?
The whole, like, if I'm angry, to kind of look underneath.
No, I learned it from the podcast.
Okay. Sorry.
Yeah, no, right. Ironically. And then there's another one called Do the Work.
Okay.
And they talk a lot about inner shadow work and attachment styles. And she's totally cool. She smokes a lot of weed, really like chill, funny, but very helpful in like about the self-worth and the attachments and where is this wound coming from, which right. And I just kind of like intermingle them, and every once in a while I throw in a book and
nice.
And I'm over here like, I am so knowledgeable, and then something will creep up and I'm like, damn it, I'm still angry.
Okay, interesting. Well, I thought you were going to say because when you said I'm so knowledgeable, like wisdom, right? Like these are one of the things that I think of as like on the journey we get instilled with wisdom, but then it's like next level, you level up, and then it's like all that wisdom disappeared. Now you get to learn in a new way,
right?
And
right. But I think that we forget to acknowledge that wisdom's still there.
Yes,
because I have a hard time also with, I live in an apartment and. Technically, I live alone, even though I'm in a relationship. And, like, I struggle with all of these things, too, just in different ways that I'm not where I'm supposed to be or where I want to be or where I should be. And I lost my train of thought. Oh, I have to stop and realize that, like, I've come so far.
Yes.
Right? Because I'm constantly like, I should be doing more and I should know better and I should, right? But if you look back a couple weeks ago, a couple months ago, a couple years ago, I have to give myself grace. That knowledge didn't disappear.
Right.
There's just new challenges that I need to learn to overcome.
Right.
And it's hard, especially for us, because it's like, I've been sober and I'm doing the life things, and why isn't my life the way it should be? Well, because the universe says we're not ready for that yet.
Yeah. I don't like hearing that.
Yeah.
I don't like that.
It's not that we're not ready for it. It's just a matter of like, there's divine timing.
Yes.
And everything that I've been given in my life has been given to me exactly when it was supposed to.
I know this and it still pisses me off.
Oh, yeah. Trust me. I know. Because I'm like, how do you know better than I do? I know everything. Well, clearly I don't, because the things I did know led me to getting drunk and doing stupid shit. So
right, and I preach like you didn't know better until you did, right? You did the best with the decisions with like the knowledge that you had, right? And now you do better now that you know better. And I lost my train. I still struggle with like divine timing and all of this shit. And I know, and so when you say like you know better, right? Like, do you have a relationship with your higher self, like with your higher power?
Yes.
Like, so
that is the only reason I'm sober today.
Yeah.
I will never forget that.
Yeah.
Everyone's like, "Oh, you made the choice." The only reason I'm still sober today is because of my relationship with my higher power.
Who do you consider your higher power?
Oh, this is fun. So I don't do religion.
Okay.
I don't.
Yes.
I am strongly against religion. I do believe that there is a God, if you want to call them that. It's easier to explain to people by saying that. I have a lot of spirits that I keep with me very closely. I've lost a lot of people in my life that I love dearly. And so my angels, essentially,
Yes.
my angels, my spirit guides. I do believe in, the power of crystals and the power of manifestation. And I'm kind of a little bit all over the place. I do know that there have been messages that I received from somebody else's loved one that I gave to somebody. I don't think that I'm a medium. Here's the thing. I know that I have a lot of very powerful gifts that I am terrified to use.
Yeah. You block them when you're scared of them.
Yep. The spirits that are with me now are the only ones that I would like to have around. Because I know them very well.
Understandable. Yes. Yeah. I've been through some shit with spirits and things, so like I have a very close working relationship. Like I only work with angels. Like it's like okay, no, I'm very specific. Like archangels, like that's because I've been. It's been a ride.
Right. So. I'm very grateful that I am divinely protected.
Yes.
There's only been one instance where somebody had given me a bag of rocks and crystals that I brought into my home. And I was laying in bed and felt like I was suffocating. And I cannot explain, I have never felt that kind of fear and uneasiness.
Was it at the apartment?
It was at the apartment.
I think I remember I remember coming over one day and you're like, I had to put my crystals outside. Like,
yeah, they were mine. So I was freaking out and I was talking to somebody and they were like, did you bring anything home with you? And in that moment, it was like a switch flipped.
Oh, yeah.
And there was the bag of rocks sitting in my front, like the living room, and I grabbed them. And I remember opening the patio door, and it was pouring rain. And I was like, and I threw them out the door, and I was like, you are not welcome here. Leave now. And it was like a few minutes later, like the energy started to clear. I am very grateful. I don't accept gifts from people now.
Yeah. We live and we learn. We live and we learn.
Right, because objects hold energy.
Yes. And I agree with the whole, like, not believing in organized religion, though I do go to church. That's been on my journey, too. But I believe in God. I believe in a creator. For lack of, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like, I think that there are lessons that can be learned. But yes, there is not a doubt. And I say because I've been through some shit in the last year. Like where it was like at one point it was especially it's funny that we're like it's going on 3 years since like my first it's like I wound up saying I cannot keep meeting God and pretending he doesn't exist.
Right.
Like because it was when like there's a whole traumatic events that goes into it, but. Like it was just like that was one of my I think that was probably my hardest awakening,
right.
And we go through several and that
yeah.
some it's like hold on for dear life and others are like we're gonna be gentle this time,
right?
But yeah, I believe like there is but it's interesting because some people think of their higher power as themselves, right? Like, and I was like, when I relay messages, it's angels, it's your higher self. Like if it does not serve love, it is not allowed. Like, and I've had to learn this shit the hard way. Like I literally have that tattooed now.
Right.
Does this serve love? As a reminder, as I, like, you said you don't consider yourself like a medium, right? Like, and I am, and I can relay messages, but for me, it's more of a channel. Like, that's
Right.
where, and that's where I'm more comfortable. Like, I don't lean into the mediumship as much because of the experiences that I've had, and even with, like, thinking that I'm working with somebody that I'm not,
Right.
and so, like, that's, like, I'm like, okay, this is it, like, and I have this plan in place, and, like, let's grow with that. And that's as far as, like, those things, but it's higher self. And then, but I still think that above higher self is there's creator, like, and I just know this,
Right?
Like, and that's when I want to, like, ask people, because everybody is so different,
right?
And we're all, and when we're all on our own journeys, we are all the creators of our own universes, right? And we're just kind of like, we just kind of come into each other's orbit, and I feel like that is exactly what's happening, that's happened with us. But, like, for me, it's a different perspective now because we've grown and expanded so much, and it's just more of it's a deeper understanding of, like, what started out as bus stop and just, what started out as bus stop. Could you ever imagine you would have the knowledge that you have today?
No.
Or the life that you're living today?
No.
I know, it's wild, isn't it?
It's crazy to think where I was, where I've been, and where I am now.
Yeah.
It's a ride.
Yeah.
And there are days where it feels like it's never going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm grateful for it. That, like, I have to be. Because without the gratitude, then everything sucks.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Like,
It's funny you say that, without the gratitude, because, like, I was trying to, like, I practice Gratitude Tuesday. That's one of the things. It's and so, because, like, I am grateful, but it's also a reminder to be grateful of the other things, because, like, I have a propensity to...
Our brain is trained to look for the negative.
Yes. So it's, like, it's good to be positive, but it's needed for me to not slip into...
Everything sucks.
Yes, and, like, and to not focus on what I don't have, when look at all that I have.
Right. I can sit here and I can tell you every single thing that I have in my life, right? And I can make it sound like the most miserable life.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
For example, during COVID, right? We were homeschooling, and I had my sister-in-law's kids at the time also, so there was 4 children. And then the bar opened back up, so I was also working. And so I could say, well, I have to homeschool 4 kids and I don't get any sleep, and right? Or I could say I have an opportunity to spend time with the 4 children that mean the most to me at that point in my life that I wouldn't normally get. Mm-hmm. And I can take a nap on their lunch break. And I get to go to work and see all these people that I haven't gotten to see in a month or 2 months or however long, whatever, Mm-hmm. So it's a matter of perspective, right? And that's why, like, when I share my story, I try to share both sides.
Yeah.
Right? Because it's hard to hear someone say, like, I wouldn't have the life I had today if I didn't get sober, and my life is so great. Yes, it is. My life is beautiful.
Yes.
But it's fucking hard.
Yes.
And there are days where I don't fucking want to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I'm grateful that I do.
Yeah. I think that's funny that, like, my son said to me the other day, he's like we have a tradition of, like, we go out and get food together. Like, so, like, even, like, after I'm, like, it's 9 o'clock at night, I'll be like, are we getting McDonald's or something, like,
right.
And we'll pick him up and we just talk in the car. Like, that's how we spend time together. And, like, he's like, see, like, he just said something, like, for him being 17. He's 17 now. Holy shit. I know.
Wow.
I know. It's like, I don't have to spend time with you. I get to spend time with you. And that's the perspective, you know what I mean? Like, and like those things, like, I don't have to take care of my kids. I get to take care of them.
Words matter.
Yes, and that is just looking at it like that, like, oh, I have to do this. Like, oh my God, I get to do this. I'm blessed to be able to do these things, right? And that's that perspective. But we have to wrap up. I want to ask you something.
Okay.
Before we wrap up. Are you happy?
Yes.
Would you do anything different?
No.
Okay.
Then I wouldn't be here today.
I know, right? Like, do you have any regrets?
A lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I always say, like, if there was, like, I've said, do we do I have any regrets? And I kind of do one, but but I really think like no, because I wouldn't be in this exact moment. I wouldn't have learned things the way that I have to be the person that I am. And I do, like, on my good days, I really love myself. Like, oh, holy shit, I am my biggest fan. And even on my bad days, I'm like, I do still love myself, just a little less. And that's a good, and it wasn't always that way, you know? Like, it really wasn't always that way. And if I had one thing different, right? It's like the butterfly effect. If you did one thing different, I wouldn't be in this exact moment. And so, like, even going back to, like, when we talked about the dude, right? That was, like, you know, like, but it was a catalyst for something.
Right. For multiple things.
Right. Like, look at who you helped, you know? Like, look at who you also helped me.
Right. Like, you dodged a bullet, let me tell you. Yeah. We should send him the podcast when we get done.
I think he follows me on TikTok, so he might.
That's hilarious. It's not so much a regret of, I regret the time that I lost with my daughter.
Yeah.
And it's not so much like regrets that I wish I could change. It's more so regrets that put into perspective what I should cherish now.
Okay.
I don't, like, yes, I wish things were differently back then. I wish I could have been a different mom. Mm-hmm. But because of that experience, I am an amazing mother today.
Yeah.
And I say that fully with my chest.
Good for you.
Within the last 6 months.
That's a really hard thing to say because mothers...
We never feel like we're doing it.
Right. And society, I feel like, and... doesn't want you to.
Right.
Because you should always be doing better. You should always be doing more and blah, blah, blah.
And
so
I
it's
should.
really hard to be, no, like, you're perfect for her, you know?
Right.
Like, so,
and
you're constantly evolving
and
to
she's on that journey with me.
Right.
And that's one of the things I'm grateful for, that I am who I am, because I'm real with her.
Right.
You know, my mom is a saint. She's an amazing human. But I wasn't taught how to process emotions.
Yeah.
And I wasn't taught the things that I'm teaching myself today.
Yeah.
And it's because, you know, generationally, they weren't taught.
Right.
And it all, you know, so it all spirals. But, yeah, I'm a good mom.
Good. You are.
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah.
I think that with saying that, I'm like, oh, like, I have to, like, same, right? Like, I was not taught I was never parented. Right. I wasn't parented, period. So I found myself in the last couple of years learning how having to reparent myself,
right,
and learn how to be a parent. And I've even said, like, do I have regrets when it comes to drinking? No.
Right.
Even, you know, like, no, because it was obviously, like, my dad was an alcoholic and, like, being past him, but, like, when me and my ex split, it was very much like we're doing this for the kids. Like, it stops with us. It ends with us, you know? Right. But in this, like, so have my son has seen me drunk. My daughter really hasn't, that she can,
right,
can remember. And even when talking to my son, he's like, I don't know. He's like, I never really thought that you were that bad, you know? I'm like, well, no, like, thankfully, but also I've been so open with it. Like, these are these things. And now I feel like because of that, they have learned, and it can end with me, you know, and being very open in my journey with, like, being, like, telling my daughter, like, I don't know how to parent you because I was never parented. I don't know. All I know is that I did not have the mom that I needed.
Right. When I'm trying to be that for you.
And I don't. So I know, but I'm like, I need you to work with me and let me know what you need, because I can do what I think that you need.
Right.
But if that's not what you need, I don't want to traumatize you more. But then that's a whole other podcast about, like, traumatizing your kids and not trying to traumatize them, you know? Right. But, like,
traumatizing them in the process of trying not to.
Yeah. Yes, because then it's like I've had so much fear in being a parent because I don't want to fuck them up, because I know how fucked up I wound up, you know? Like,
but we are not fucked up.
Yes.
No.
Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to agree with you. I'm trying to agree with you.
Yes.
Like,
I am not broken. We are not broken.
We are not.
There is nothing wrong with us.
Right. There is nothing wrong with us.
Right.
And
we are just growing.
Yes. And if it didn't happen, I wouldn't have the relationship that I do have with my kids.
Replanting the soil.
Yes. Yes. Changing. And I think of things when I asked about regret, like, if I do feel like there's a specific situation in my life that I do regret, which is funny, like, because I think that I would be a different parent if these things didn't happen. And that's like, okay, like it's, you know, it's the consequences of my own actions, but it's more...
It would have changed the whole trajectory.
Right. Yeah. And that's the kind of thing, like, yeah, like that is what it comes down to. I still wouldn't be, you know, like I would be living a very different life.
Right.
So everything does happen for a reason.
Right. Divine timing.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah. It's just surrendering to that. See, but then I'm like, as I say that, I'm like, I hear it in like in spiritual, but also I'm like, I feel like this did come up in AA.
Yes.
You know, and it can be like it's
it is a spiritual. It is. And that's the thing with AA is if you read the Bible, they coincide.
Yes. And it's so interesting because it's like, I love that this is taking a spiritual turn because that is really what I want with this.
Right.
But like, and like it went off of AA and sobriety, and then it comes back because it's the principles.
Right.
But it's those principles of life, and they just found it in a way to relate it to the addictions that we have, which actually does go further than AA, right?
Right.
Because it is like, and I would always say, because like you recommend your like these podcasts, and like for me, the first thing, my first awakening was the book, The Universe Has Your Back by Gabrielle Bernstein. And I remember saying this in one of my first AA meetings. Like, I've done all of this, but I've worked it for life and not for being an alcoholic. And like she was an addict, and this is how she used, like she taught it that way. So I had already done like these things and taking inventory and judgment detox. Like Gabrielle Bernstein is amazing. Like I've come so far, but even now if I've re-listened to it, I was like, holy shit, I understand these things on a whole different level than I did 6 years ago when I first listened to it. Holy shit, like now it's like more of an awakening, more of a higher perspective of the things that she was saying. And that helps me to realize that when I talk to some people, they can't comprehend what I'm talking about.
Right, and that's okay.
Right, you will when you, and that's what I say when I'm channeling messages to people, is like, if it doesn't make sense to you now, it will at some point. Mm-hmm. Like it might be too much knowledge for you, but you will have a full circle moment. We always do like, oh, and then like
that's
humbling.
why I'm here.
Yeah. So for me, and it's humbling myself enough to know that I know nothing. That's one thing that I'm learning too. Again, is like having to relearn. Like, oh, like you think that you have all of this wisdom, and then it's like, no, you know nothing. We're gonna give it to you again.
Right.
You know.
Right.
It's interesting. I think I went off on a tangent there.
That's okay. I'm pretty sure I did multiple times.
I think it was well-rounded, as life should be.
Yes.
So I think it's good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yeah.
I'm happy for you.
I'm happy for you.
Thank you.
I think we always wind up where we're supposed to be, and we learn.
Yeah, maybe I'll be back.
I would love that. All right, any last words?
No.
No? Okay.
No. I'm gonna, it's a cliffhanger.
It's a cliffhanger, we're gonna leave it on that?
Yeah, right.
To be continued.
Yes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Have a beautiful day.
Bye.